Okay, now we're recording. Right as I cough. Take off my sticky note for record. So I guess what we're gonna get started with is I'm going to do this with test-based development. So or test-driven development. So what I'll probably do, I've already got npx Cypress installed, which is usually how you install Cypress into the machine, so you can use it. I'm going to open it, and when you do an npx Cypress open, it is going to make that Cypress folder in root. So we should see up in here Cypress showing up. And we'll say yes. And then we get to wait. But as soon as that opens, we're going to see your Cypress folder. And then we can start adding in a test. So on this project, what we're going to do is we're going to make an order form to order a Tesla Model Y and see the completed page at the end to make sure that you've actually, can order by just going to the website. It's going to go to the Model Y link, then it's going to fill out a form, and then it's going to click the submit button, and then end up on on like a page that says, yeah, this is your order. This is always taking a little extra time. There's not too much special about this. So I have a public folder with some assets in it. So like a logo, here's a Model 3, an S, an X, and a Y. And then these are just favicons for different things. So if you'll notice, we've got the little T icon up top. If you look in app.js, I have a date function here where it goes to the new date and then gets whatever the full year is as a slice of state, and then I output it. I don't think it's necessary for me to really have a slice of state. This could just be a variable, but whatever. It looks nicer this way. And that way we get the, copyright, Tesla Motors, and whatever year. And our official Tesla site, honest, because this is not the official Tesla site. If you'll notice, the index.html file is where we get that from. So instead of the title. So pretty straightforward. Looks like that opened on the other window. So this is your normal Cypress window. It's saying that I've got an update available, but that's fine. So the idea here is we have this Cypress folder, and you have your integrations. I'm just going to make a new file, and we're just going to call this order.spec.js. And so if we think of our Cypress tests, this is end-to-end testing. So we want to kind of go through the the flow, like somebody Googled Tesla, somehow they got to my site for whatever reason, and they want to order a Model Y and pay me money, even though I'm not going to deliver a Model Y, I don't mind that they pay me money. Hopefully we get that, and nobody comes after me, the FBI or whatever, right? So hopefully they realize this isn't a serious Tesla app. And so the first thing that I'm always going to do is I'm going to make a sanity check. And so whenever you do an it statement, it takes two arguments. The first one being a string value, and the next one is a callback. So when you've got this callback, basically all you need to do is just put, using Cypress language, what you want that to do. So in a sanity check, you might do something like, I don't know, expect 11 plus 7 and then 2 equal, and that'd be 18, right? So if I save this, hit the wrong buttons again, and bring this in, you can see that we've got this order spec.js, and I can open this, and it's going to run whatever these tests are. So we asserted 18 equals 18. Hooray for us, right? So I'm just going to move that over. So we know that we're connected, and we're getting a correct result. It's not erroring out or anything else. So that's basically all the sanity checks there for, is to make sure the world hasn't ended. So the next thing that I'm probably going to want to do is a describe, which is very similar to an it statement with how many arguments it takes. It takes a string, and it takes a callback. So inside of here, we might do something like visit the Tesla website. And so what I might want it to do is do a before each. And before each takes one argument, which is a callback. And we are probably going to want it to visit the website. So yeah. No, not crypto. Cypress.visit. So sci.visit. And we're going to want to go to our homepage here. So we're going to copy our localhost 3000 and paste it in. So we have the website that we're wanting to visit. And what we're going to do is another it statement. And we're just going to make sure that we'll say, and visiting the website works. So again, with the it statement, you have two arguments, a string and a callback. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do sci.contains, and we'll say guy contains Tesla motors. So we're going to say it has this in here. So if it matches that, then we're pretty sure that we're on the correct page. So we'll go ahead and save that again. And when I bring this back over, it's going to visit the Tesla website, which you can see here. And visiting the website works. So it's going to visit here and then go into Tesla Motors. Okay, it found Tesla Motors, so it's green. So it passed 2 tests, the sanity check, and it can visit the website. So we're going to kind of just put that to the side again. And what we're going to want to do next is we're going to have to imagine that this is a website that's working. Right now, there's nothing in it. So what we might do is and it can order a Model Y, right? So none of this functionality exists yet. So I'm going to invent the items that I want to select using CSS selectors, just like we were taught in Unit 1. So I'm writing my CSS selectors, what I want to call them right now, to match the tests. Kind of like when you'll see in the test, they say, oh, we want you to use ID, you know, whatever, ID menu, right? And they're saying it must be called this. That's because we wrote the test to match that one specific CSS selector. So what I might do is a Cypress.get, and then this is going to take one argument, and I have a habit of using backticks. It really doesn't matter which one you use, so long as you're not breaking out of the string that you're there. Backticks just make my life easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invent a CSS selector that's not even on the page yet. Data test ID. And we're going to call this model-y. So what it's going to do is it's going to look for a CSS selector that has an attribute of data test ID equals model Y. And I'll show you that here in a second once we get into a little bit more of our, I guess, React router. So this test is being written for stuff that we haven't implemented, and it's probably going to take 30 minutes to get to. But the idea is that I want it to be able to get that one item. So we may do something like const model Y equals something like that. And what we might do is and I'm pretty sure that's going to work. Let me just look up Cypress right quick. Cypress exist. Here's an assertion. Let's see here, exists. So expect my variable to exist. So what we need to do is refactor this. So we're going to expect model Y dot to exist. It should be adopted. So now what we've done is we've got that data test ID model Y, and we're expecting it to be there. I believe exist is invoke. So let me save this. And where did that go? Oh, here it is. So this is now erroring out. So let me see here. Type error, expect blah, blah, blah to exist. Let me make sure I've got the, yeah, it's not a function. Sorry, I've been bouncing back and forth between two different testing libraries too. So this is not invoked. All right. So if you'll notice that we cannot order a model Y yet. We can't even click on a button that doesn't exist. So it says timed after expected to find element data test ID model Y, but never found it because we haven't written it yet. So that's kind of the first step in developing it. So we want to now go through and start writing a website that at least we can switch to a model Y page. And then we can start developing more of this. Let's see here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to need to install React Router. And if we go over here to versions, you'll notice the latest version is 6.3.0. They've messed a bunch of stuff up in the 6x branch where it doesn't really have the same syntax. And so we're still teaching 5.3 because they made that switch, I guess, about a month ago or so, maybe 2 months. I don't know. It's been a little while, maybe 3. So for right now, we're still teaching version 5 because that's what's currently in the industry. Nobody has really rolled out 6.3. And there's only like, I think there's one team that is at the company that I work for that is rolling out version 6. Most people are sticking with version 5 for right now because it's just a lot of lift to be able to switch over to it, to version 6 with basically not a lot of extra features that they need. So what we're looking for is the latest version of 5 right here, which is this 5.3.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the server, if it will. There we go. And I'm going to npm install React Router DOM at 5.3.1. And if we were to go into our package JSON, you're going to see that it's going to show up in here after, I believe, React scripts, or before React scripts have. And so what we're going to look for is we're going to look for to make sure that it is the correct version and not a version 6. So this little caret here says that we're going to go up if there's a new version. If you reinstalled this, it's going to go up any version that's 5 or higher with the except stops at version 6. So if there's ever an update, you can usually use like an npm audit fix or something like that, which is a horrible idea. We usually just do them one at a time, but you can update this version, no problem. Now that we have this, we can now start programming in our React Router into our React app. So we'll start the server again. And try opening up a new tab. I don't want it to open up a new tab. I'll just refresh and make sure nothing broke. Okay, cool. So still complaining about my React. Render is no longer supported in React 18. Ignore that. It's not a big deal. So that's probably the last that we need to have in here. I've also got Axios installed since we probably want to do some posts. I'm just going to be using recres, and I'm only using recres just so that I have like a post method happening, and kind of the same workflow that they teach, so that we're storing the information that was submitted, not necessarily what's on the server in this case, because it's not a real server. So down the line, you'll use a different pattern than what we're using right now. Next unit, definitely you'll notice that you're going to be grabbing the information from the server after you've posted. For right now, it's just kind of out of scope. So that's probably as much as I need to do in package.json. I may do like a CSS file or something just to make it pretty. So next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to order a model Y. So we're going to need some sort of a link for this with that string here. So data test ID equals model Y. So if we go into our index.js, the first step that we're going to want is we're going to have a provider defined for our React router DOM. So does anybody have any questions on the router specifically and how to do the router in this? Or why? Nobody knows why.
Yeah, why?
So if you look at this browser router, so they also have things like hash router and other things. So there's different versions of routers. So the reason why we do browser router as router is because it's the most common style of router. So if I have this wrapped with router, and let me just move this up. Get rid of that comma. So we have our, why is that complaining? Oh, sorry. It's the slash router. There. So if I have app wrapped in router, and let's say that I wanted to change this to a different style of router, I could actually do, say, hash router, which is a bad idea. It literally has like a hashtag at the end of everything that says that that's the route that you're supposed to go, where a browser router is like what Amazon would use to select things. So you might have like a slash product code in Amazon. So this allows us to use different types. So the other thing is that why are we wrapping it? So in React, this is an element with a child of app. So that means that this router now has access to every component on the app. And you want to try to put this up as high as you can get it, because you're going to want to continue to render every piece of that app to each time that you click a page, so it doesn't have to refresh the page. If you have it where part of the page is being generated by some other router, it does some really weird things. So typically you only want one router wrapped around an app. It's probably possible to do it another way, but that starts to basically bend my mind trying to think of how you would end up making it work right. So elegant solution, just wrap it in a router. And then any type of functionality from React Router is available inside of your app component. You don't ever have to do it again. So without that, you have no access to switch, route, link, use history, use params, that kind of stuff. So hopefully that helped out a little bit. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, that was good.
App.js missing blah blah blah, invoking constructor on 4. Whatever. Let's see if this explodes. Okay, and stop complaining. All right. So now I'm sure you'll remember your header nav type pattern from unit 1. So I might do like an image for my logo, right? So if I'm in my public assets folder, so this logo, I'm going to want that kind of at the top, right next to like all of my menu items. So I could just do an image, and we're going to want to go to assets logo dot ping. There's the Tesla logo. All right, so now if I save this, you'll notice we have this gigantic logo. This is probably where we should probably put in some CSS, so we don't have to deal with that. So we're gonna do a new app.css file, and I don't know. Let's do a data style Tesla logo like that, right? So if I save this, inspect, you'll notice that we have that data style equals Tesla dash logo, right? So if I wanted to select this in CSS, all I need to do is wrap it in square brackets and paste it in like that. And so what we probably do is save it. Link that field, don't we?
Hey, Brian, I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
So this data keyword that you're using, we haven't really seen that before.
Yeah,
So you're
so
using it in here and on Cypress?
yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, so what is that data? I mean, yeah, so what does that word mean?
So like if you search for CSS attribute selectors, you're going to notice that you have square bracket attribute. So you can see that they have like a square bracket target or whatever. Target equals blank. It's any type of a thing that you'll find on a CSS line. So let me see if they've got something a little bit better. And so we'll say on a data attribute, well, they've got a nice thing for on Mozilla. So you'll notice that you have like data columns 3, data index number, data parent. So these are things that you'll find in larger projects to distinguish one area from another instead of using like a class name or something else like that. And it's also the minimum specificity inside of CSS. So if you do like one of these CSS selectors, it's like the end of the line. So it's like if something else was styled specifically, your styles are going to get overwritten no matter what. But it's also a good way of having your tests. So like I'm using a data dash style on this, but in my Cypress get, I'm using a data test ID. So data test ID, and sometimes you'll see a data test ID, but I'm used to doing data test dash or data dash test dash ID. And this is just something you can put on there so that you can actually tell which one you're selecting without going to, like, the fourth P tag, I don't know what order this model Y will be in. So I don't know if it's going to be the first P tag or the second P tag or the third P tag, or is it an anchor tag? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me what it is. It could be a button. It could be an anchor tag. So long as it's got this data test ID model Y, I know that that's going to be the selector that I want.
Right. Okay.
So
Thanks.
it just reduces a lot of ambiguity on how to select things. And technically you could actually do like, a data style here. It's not like, it's going to stop you from doing that. It's just not semantic to do that. So it doesn't make any sense to select based off of a style. It makes a lot more sense to select based off of a data test ID. So let's go back over. So we've got app CSS. We've already got the Tesla logo at a normal height. Almost looks good. And maybe we should do header, and we'll do background color of black. Looks good. It's not quite there, but yeah. Obviously some weird padding, but whatever. We're not going for production quality here. There's no padding on the image. Figures. There's some body margin. Let's get rid of the body margin. So okay, so that looks kind of sort of like something Tesla might produce, who knows? And let's get back over to app.jsx, because you guys don't want to see me style all day. You want to see me show you how to do, say, switches and routers and things like that, I'm sure. So I'm going to want to do some more imports. I'm going to set up all of my my links. So we're going to, I guess, import link. From React Router DOM. And inside of here, we're probably going to want what do they have? model S, 3XY. So there's 4, plus we probably want my order and home. So that's 6. So we now have 6 links. This is why I use the .jsx extension, because I can do fun things like this instead of having to type link a million times. And I want a data test ID on all of these. And I'll probably have a 2 because we want to know where it wants to go. And I'm just going to copy. I'm not going to do too much here because I never remember which cursor or which key does what on PC versus Mac. So instead of me fumbling through it, I'm just going to do it manually. So first thing, we want a link to go back home. And last thing, we want a my order page. And let's do, we'll do it in their order, which is a model S, a model 3, model X, and a model Y. Okay, so we want our 2 to go to the root because that's where you start. This one is going to go to, we'll say model will be the route that we use, and we'll use a capital S. We'll do model, can't capitalize 3, but it's a string. If I can type today. And then we've got a model Y. So I've kind of figured out the routes that I want ahead of time. So it's almost like cheating. And then we've got a my order route. So these are going to be routes that we're going to write. Right now, they don't do anything. But we can have a data test ID of, home, data test ID. What do we say? So we're looking at model dash whatever the model is, right? So we're going to do a lowercase s. Can't type today. And we'll do a my order here. So these are just easier ways of me saying, hey, I want to be able to test this specific thing. So I can, in my test, like this data test ID model Y, it's going to know this link is this link because I've called it data test ID model Y. So it will be able to select this. And CSS works the exact same way. If you wanted the model Y to be a different color of text, you could do it with the data test ID wrapped in square brackets. It would work fine. It just doesn't make any sense to do so. So I think I also probably, I want to wrap this in a nav. Might as well make it semantic or more semantic. All right. Don't hit caps lock. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And now you can kind of see our text is down here. It doesn't look very good. There's some problems. So let's go ahead and go into our header, and we're going to say color white for whatever text we have in there. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to move this one up to the top. And this probably could be up higher as well. Come on. Keep hitting the wrong buttons. So we're probably going to have like anchor tags in here for our navigation. So if I inspect, like say, not model 3, you'll notice that whenever you do a link, it turns it into an anchor tag on the rendered side. It doesn't say link, it says a. So that anchor tag, we're going to want to do our text decoration white, I believe. Oh wait, no, it's text decoration is not it. It's text decoration is none, and then our color is white. Hit the right key. There we go. So now we have home model, less model 3, model X, model Y, my order, all with one word, which is horrible. It's also not exactly on the same line. We might do a display flex so that our Tesla and this are on the same line. Save that. All right, so that looks good. Our nav, we probably should turn that into a flex as well. And then we can align items to center and justify content to space evenly. I can save correctly. So notice how they're not spaced evenly. So our nav, if you look at the nav's computed property, the width is just, it's not defined, it's whatever the width is. So if we do inside of the nav, we do say width 100%. Now we've got something that looks more professional. So now I don't know, it's almost like you could order a Model Y. So if we were to go back to our Cypress test here and run this, and it opened up on a different window, you can see that it passes a sanity check. It makes sure the website can be visited. And technically, we can't order a Model Y yet, but this exists. This data test ID Model Y exists. And it shows that it's highlighted right here. So that's good. So that says that we have our first test passing to be able to select a Model Y. Now, if I click on Model Y, it goes to the correct place, but there's no routes. So now we need to put in a route so it can actually display something other than home. Y'all ready for this? Or you got questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, excellent. So anytime that you have a router, you're going to want to plan it out so you don't need to have a new switch route somewhere else. So typically, there are ways of having like multiple switch, multiple routes. Again, I would caution against that and just go for simplicity. So for me, I want to make sure that these header and navs on every single page, and this footer is on every single page. And I want this main to be on every single page, but I don't care about this home. I just don't. Let's see. if I can call it Tesla home, because why not? Tesla home. All right. So what we have is we're going to need to do a switch. Yeah. And because we've got that switch, we're going to have to import it up here as well. So now what the switch is going to do is it's going to allow the routes to figure out what does and does not need to be there. Without the switch, it gets weird. So just know that it's just like another provider, where the children of switch are the ones that can tell where everything is. So if I've got a route that's pointing to home, it knows how to switch only so that home shows up. So we're going to need a bunch of routes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do 6 routes. And we're going to multiply this by 6 and then tab. So now I have 6 routes. All of these are going to be exact path equals. And my first one is going to be this root route. So slash is root. And then we're going to do model, but we're going to do something a little different. So I can either do model S, model X, 3, but if you notice, there's this pattern here where you've got the only change is this S, X, 3, or Y. So why don't we get rid of these other routes, because that just duplicates the amount of pages that we need to write and different components and everything else, and make this more reusable by making, instead of an S, we're going to make a variable called banana. Nah, we'll call it model. Because we can call it anything we want. You can call it ID. You probably saw one called slug at some point in your life. It's a variable that you are declaring that goes right here. So anything that comes after that slash is a part of that variable now. So it's going to be model equals S3X or Y. And your last one is just my order. So it starts at root, goes to my order. So this is where I'm going to do, wrong key again. No. Something like, something like that. Oh, I have broken it up. I did not put in my route. So it says route is not defined. We just didn't import it up here. That's my bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and just put something in here just to say like a paragraph tag for order form, and then the my order, we'll just do my order. I'll make this an 82. All right, so now we have some sort of consistency. So I can save this. And now when I click on home, we go to home. Model S, we go to the order form, which isn't very smart right now. It just says H2 order form. But we're on the S route. Model 3 goes to the 3 route. Model X goes to the X route. Model Y goes to the Y route. And my order goes to the my order route, which has a different H2 that says my order. So all we're doing is we're making an anchor tag that goes to a different path on the URL bar anytime that you click on one of these. The router is reading this anytime that there's a change when you click on it and says, hey, I want to render what's inside of this route if I click on one of the order form ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else have questions before I start making this a little more complicated? This is the basics. Good time to ask questions.
So your variable model at the end of route there.
Yeah.
You don't have to define that anywhere. That's just
That is the definition, because we're about to get into it. That's where it gets a little bit more complex, and also where this page comes in handy. So if you just like Google a React Router v5.1, you'll find this React training website with this blog post that's fantastic to deal with your use params. And you basically just ignore this first code block and look at the second code block, and it gives you all of your answers. But I'm going to explain it anyway. So I guess probably what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put in a new folder. And just in case you haven't figured it out yet, do not change your case after you've pushed to GitHub, because it will save both the lowercase and uppercase version of a folder and anything in it, and it will only pull down one version of it. It's a little bit of a pain to get rid of it, but just FYI, it happens every build week. If you think that you need to, oh, well, I wanted it to be an uppercase, don't do it. Bad things will happen. So I've seen people that wanted to have an uppercase C. So we're going to make a new file, and we're going to call this. And I name everything JSX so I can be lazy and not type as much. So this order form is going to have to do more than one thing from everybody. Oh yeah, we need to do yup, don't we? I'm gonna go ahead and add yup in right quick before I forget and wonder why it's broken. So we're going to install yup. And again, this is going to show up in our package.json as yup. Restart the server. Yeah, using data attributes, especially with testing, makes your life so much easier than trying to figure out what CSS style you were using or whatever. So let's start with our and I'm probably going to want some state. We're going to need to hold state and probably do like some sort of use effect or something. So we're going to use state first. And down the line, when we start doing yep, we'll start using a use effect for our yep. So we're importing React use state from React. So that's the first thing that I do is get my imports. Second, I'm going to define a new variable. And this one's going to be called order form from form. And I'm going to set this equal to an empty function. We're probably going to need some props in here, but we'll deal with that here in a little bit. I don't think it's going to be important at this moment, but we're going to have to pass props down because we're going to want to store the order eventually. For right now, I don't even have state in app, so no need to put props in there just yet. So the next thing that we're going to do, I can type, is getting use params from React Router DOM. Oh, and we need to export. Okay, so we're exporting the variable order form as the default export, so we don't have to use curly braces around it, is effectively all that says. So, you know, like this React up here is the default export. And let's do a return. And what should I return? I guess that H2. And this would be so let's do Tesla model. Then there's going to be something here, order form. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to put in our order form in here. Yeah. We're gonna render our order form right there. We still need to import it. There we go. From components order form. So if I save this, and go back here, and I go to our Model S, Model 3, Model X, we're now getting Tesla model order form, but there's still nothing really interesting in it. So it's opening up the order form, and we want to put what model is on that line up here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to destructure just like you would from props, like, you know, you've seen that pattern, but we're going to be doing use params like that. So we're going to call the function use params, and whatever it returns is going to be an object. This object is going to have a key named model in it. So I'll just put model right here because that matches what's in our route on this slug right here. So colon model means we now have a new variable named model, and I should be able to just put model in there and it show up. So here's a Model Y order form, Model S order form, Model 3 order form, Model Y order form, and then you can put whatever you want up here. It doesn't mean that it's a good idea, but you know, totally utterly hackable, and that's not what we're really interested in right at the moment. We want a model Y. So now we have something else that we can test for. So we can put another data test ID into our test. So what we can do is we can click model Y. Let me make sure I've got that correct. So we're going to do Cypress click, documentation, click, you invoke it. There you go. So we can click on model Y, and what we might want to do is side get, and we're going to do, if I can type, geez, a data test ID equals, and what we want to do is look for one called model header, or maybe order form header. That sounds like a good one, right? So if I copy this, we'll go and save it. We'll also notice that when this runs, it blows up because this doesn't exist. This data test ID order form header doesn't exist. Hopefully I haven't lost anybody yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this data test ID right here to determine that we have made it to this page, right? So the first thing I want to do, now that we're here, we need to make sure that this is here. And probably, let me go ahead and save it. I'll drag this back over. I know this is tiny, but let's see here. Stop this and restart it. Why do you always go to that screen? All right. So it can order a model Y. So it visits the home page. It's expecting this to exist, this model Y to exist. It clicks on it. There's a little red dot where it clicked. And then it was able to get this, that it's there. But that's probably still not good enough. We want to actually make sure that it's correct. So let's try this contains here. And we're going to do a direct copy from here. And I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to put a variable in here where model is equal to Y. So I'm trying to duplicate any type of variable that's used inside of here, any type of state. I'm trying to duplicate in this function because it doesn't exist. I want to make sure that this model, and it should be a capital Y, exists. So it should say Tesla Model Y order form, and it's using that exact same copy text. So now if I go back over to the test, you'll notice that we've got this, it gets it, and it contains model Y order form. And this will come in handy if we wanted to make more tests where we can just change this model here and copy and paste more its and do the S3, X, and Y and make sure that it works, because the pages are the same. They're just what model is being pushed up. So any questions so far on the test-driven development?
So does that Y work for all of them or just for Y? Or model Y?
Yeah, this one right here will only work for the Model Y. So like if I change this to an X, because this is trying to go to the Model Y link. So if I save this, you'll notice that it should, it won't contain Model X order form. But if I were to change this to a Y, and let's say that we put another it under here and we just copy and paste this. Then all I need to do is just change this to can order a model X, put a capital X here, change this from model Y to a model X, and save it. And now we can order a model Y and order a model X using basically the exact same code.
Cool, thank you.
So let's see here. I'm gonna get rid of this for right now because we're gonna do that copy pasta thing later because it's pretty neat. Once when I have all the tests working the way that I want, then we can do more with that. And there's also ways of making it so that this state is changed for each one, where you iterate through like an array, and it'll do multiple its over an array of models. But that's getting probably way over everybody's head at that point. But it's possible to automate tests a lot more than what we're doing. So since we're building a form, what are some of the things that we probably want to have in a form? We'll say initial form state. It's long, but it works. So we've got initial form state. So we probably want to know what model we're ordering, right? So we want a model Y in this specific case. We'll get to modifying this here in a second. So we want a model Y in this case. We probably want your name. If you're buying it, we'll have that. We'll just leave model Y blank. We'll say that we want to know the model that you ordered, who you are, if you accepted or not. That would probably be enough, because that gives us our checkbox value, and the checkbox value is the only other form type that you really need to know how to code. The rest of them are effectively identical with with name and in values. So these three is probably going to be fine. So we're just going to say accepted is false. And I don't know. I think that's probably enough state to know what you ordered. And we're just going to assume that there's no towing kits or different colors or whatever for right now. And if we wanted to, we could go in and add more later. You know, do a drop down or something, but it's still the same functions to do that. So we have our initial form state. We're going to want to store our form in state. So we're going to, I guess we're just going to call it form. Why not? Form and set form equals use state. And this use state, we're going to use our initial form state, or I guess we could probably call it values. Sounds better, because this isn't actually state, it's just values. Right? So these initial form values are model name and accepted. So the model's a weird one. So if I wanted to fill out this initial form value where it says a Y, we can't do it because it's not a piece of state. So we have this form and set form, but I can't just do something like set form spread form, comma, model. Like that, right? I can't do that because it would modify the form and just loop forever, lock up my computer, and then you guys would lose the rest of the recording. So this is where that becomes a side effect. So what we're going to need to do is add in a use effect to take care of that side effect. So, and this will just be a standard normal use effect with an empty dependency array, because all this is going to be doing is just setting the state of the model. So we're going to set form. We want to have it where it's an object spreading the form and changing model to be, oh, sorry, this use effect needs to be down. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, it needs to go down here. So model is going to be this model, this variable named model here, with a key name of model, which is in the initial form value. So what this is going to do is this is going to change our form so that we already have that model value in there. And if we wanted to, you could do you know, form.model if you wanted to have some sort of a verification, but you know, model would work fine as well. Okay, so I know I've lost somebody. Anybody lost? That should be a good sign. I've just done a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not very clear on why you need to use effect there.
So if I don't have this use effect here, so use effect, what the web page does is it renders the entire page with whatever the state is from the start. So this initial form values here doesn't have a model in it, and we don't want it to have a model in it because we haven't determined this model yet. So when we're doing use state initial form values, we're passing in this object here as our state. So we've got an object with model name and accepted, model name or empty, accepted is false. So what we need to do is we need to modify our form variable here with the model that comes from our parameters. So this model. So if it's model Y, model X, model S, etc. So if I just have the set form outside of this use effect, so what would happen is React is going to render this component. It's going to say, oh, he reset the form to something else. And then it's going to re-render the page, and it's going to run this again, and it says, oh, he reset the form to something else. And they'll just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So the use effect only happens at the end of the render. So when this order form is rendered, it says, oh, there's a use effect. Let me do this set form and then run this component again. So it'll run it, but it will skip over the use effect. So it only runs set form once.
Right.
So that'll prevent it from looping into infinity and breaking your computer. Well, making it so you have to reboot your browser at the very least. At the very worst, crashing Zoom and losing the recording, in my case. So that's the main reason why I put it into a use effect, was because we are setting something, and that set triggers a re-render. And because it triggers a re-render, we don't want it to do it more than one time, which is why we use the empty dependency array at the end.
Okay, makes sense.
Then let's see here. And then, you know, if I do like form dot model, then it should use that param for that, but we're basing it off of this use effect set form. So if I save this and pull this thing back over wherever it went. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, so you can order a model Y, and it says Tesla Model Y order form here. So it's working, which is a good sign. So our form.model is there. If I were to comment this out and then save it, you'll come on. I'm going to close this. So stop that.
I'll refresh it.
Yeah, refresh usually works, but there we go. So this should fail on Tesla Model Y because the Y is no longer there, because we're trying to get form.model, and because we didn't reset the form to include whatever this model is here, it's just a blank value. Okay, so that's explanation number one. I know everybody is still slightly confused, so let's hear it. Oh, and it passes now.
So is model basically like value?
So model, where model comes from right here is from our app JSX. And it comes from here. So like if I do, I don't know, Vin Diesel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's D-I-E, there. I like better. So if I copy this and I put it, we're going to go ahead and say, save that. It's going to complain. We need to replace it here and here. All right. So now our, instead of it being semantically named model, it's now named Vin Diesel, which if we refresh this, it still passes. So the name of this variable here isn't defined here, it's defined here in your route.
Gotcha. So what about the other model that's defined, the const in order?
Oh, well, so like this one here, this is the only model that is defined right now is Vin Diesel.
Oh, okay. In the initial form values model though?
Yeah, this is just a model. So this is just a key value pair that we're using. And so when we're putting it into like the set form, so our first step when we set the form, because set form is replacing everything inside of form. So we're starting off with a new object. So we're making a brand new object. We are putting in all of the items from form. And then we are replacing the value of, or the key of model with Vin Diesel.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's basically how that works. So anytime you see like a spread inside of like either an array or an object, you're basically making a copy of that array or object, and then either adding to it in the case of an array or modifying it in the case of an object. I'd probably make a suggestion on a video that covers some of it. There's a video on YouTube on Fireship. It's like Fireship, like programmer vocabulary or something. And I think it says turbo encabulator on the clickbait. But they've got one in there called item potent. So what item potent means is that there can only be one named value. So in this case, model is that named value. So I can't have two models in here. So it takes whatever the last one was. So if I were to put, like this model Vin Diesel in front, and then spread the form after it, it's going to fail that test because it's overwriting the model with this blank string. So if I, wrong key, save it, and then pull this over and refresh it, it's not going to have that model Y. It's just a Tesla model order form. But if I switch the order of this, where the form comes first, so spreading in the value of form, then we're putting in Vin Diesel right there. So it comes after. So model is, it starts off with it being model is an empty string, name is an empty string, accepted is false. And then it basically says, comma, model, Vin Diesel, like that. So this first one gets overwritten. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Any other questions before we start digging deeper into forms? Ooh, cool. So it looks like we're gonna start start having fun with forms next. Let me pull my notes. Give me 1 second. So I don't have to write forms all that often. So if you've watched any of my previous things, you can sometimes see that I'm kind of a little spacey around these things, but we'll do a section on here, put the header 2 inside of here. Let's do some more semantic programming. We're going to do an aside. And if you notice in my assets, I have these strategically named with capital letters, model-X, model Y, model S, model 3. So let's just say that I wanted to put this as, so we're going to do model dash, and then we could put in Vin Diesel in here. So what this is going to do is this is going to do image source equals model, in this case, Y. And over here, we're going to want to have a unique alt tag as well. So we're going to do backtick, and we'll just say model, and then Vin Diesel here as well. Let's see here. All right, so don't think that rendered. Oh yeah, I didn't put any extension on that. So this is a ping file. So we're going to do .png. Save it. All right, so now we've got this lovely Model Y, gigantic Model X, even huger Model 3, and a tiny Model S. So yeah, I think we probably need to size that photo a little bit better. So this would be, this might be a good place to do a data style. And we'll say order form car, and then here we go. So we're going to copy this data style here. And go into our app CSS. And we're going to do an image on top of that. And so we probably want this to be a width of 100, not 100%, not 1000%. Save it. So now when I go to our test here, I can go home, Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Model Y, and it all looks sort of kind of normal, right? And then my order is still broken. So yeah, it's just prettying things up, right? Let's go back to the form and start actually making a real form. I'm going to move this H2 up actually. So first thing that we need is a form. I don't need an action on that. So we'll probably use a label and a input, say a text. There we go. Input text box. The name is probably just going to be name. So this name here is this name here. So we'll say we're going to call this something better, like full name, so it makes it more clear as to what we're talking about. So full name. I don't really want an ID on there. The value, we're going to want to do form.fullname. So if you'll notice, this name here is so that we know where this is. So these two are always going to be identical. Your name equals this is going to be form dot whatever this name is. These are always going to be the same. And the reason for that is that we still need to be able to change this value in memory. So this name is how we know what we want to change, and this value is what full name is currently. So next thing we probably need is a checkbox. So we're going to do a label. I always love to do a p tag, and we'll say I can't spell. What is SOLEM? Yeah, well, it looks better. So there we go. A little Harry Potter joke there. And we're going to want an input. And we want this to be a checkbox. So checkboxes don't have a value field. They have a checked field. So this name is going to be accepted. I don't need an ID or anything. So there we go. So we're more interested in knowing if it's checked or not. If somebody clicks on it, there's going to be an event that happens. So we can already assume that we already know that it's false, it turns to true. So we don't actually need to read the state of checked. It'll just kind of work. Does that make sense?
So like you don't have to put an on click or anything or on change.
Well, what you can do is you can we'll do the on change here in a second. We're just making the form right now. So you could do checked is equal to form.accepted, and then it will always be whatever is on the accepted form or the accepted field and form. So false, it won't be checked. If it's true, it will be checked. So like let's save this and go back over to our official Tesla site. So this button doesn't do anything right now, but let's say we change this to true for an example. It should be defaulted to true then. I believe. Yeah, see now we've got the checkboxes true. So all we're doing is just changing whatever this accepted value is. All right. So now we can't type anything in. The checkbox doesn't work. We need to now write something that will store the information into our form state. And this is where we start getting into our change handler. So it doesn't matter what you call it. I'm just going to call this one form change. So it's like my phone is going crazy right now. So I have a new variable named form change that is set to a function. And I am wanting to pass in an event. I shorthand it for E, but a lot of people do not like it when I do E. It's just a habit from doing this for a really long time. A lot of people want you to actually type out event. So first thing that I'm going to want to do in a form change is I'm going to want to store something. So I want to show you what the event looks like if I just console log it. And I'm going to, on both of my form change events, I'm going to do an on change. And I'm just going to call form change. And this will pass the event directly into form change. We'll do this here and this here. All right. So now that I have this here, I can go into my console. Yeah, we're getting some warnings. Let me refresh. So if I type just the letter H, you'll notice that it has this synthetic base event react change on change, blah, blah, blah. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll notice that they have this target. So our target, and I click on that, it is this here in our element. So e.target is always this input that I'm on. So like if I click on this one and I go to console, scroll, and I open up this one and I look at target. If I click on this input, you'll notice that this is the checkbox that we clicked on. So it knows the difference between our inputs based off of it being that event was triggered on that input box or input checkbox or text. So when I type something, here, let's scroll up here. So we've got our event.target. If you look at the value, it's still empty. There should also be a name in here somewhere. So yeah, our name is full name. So it can tell the difference between these because of these names are different. So the two things that we're wanting to modify are, or to know what's there is our e.target.name and e.target.value. I can type. So let's console log e.target name. And we're just going to refresh so it gets rid of some of this. And I'm just going to type the letter F. So you'll notice that it did e.target.name is full name. And if I console, no. Our e.target.value, and I save. We'll go to refresh, and I will type the letter capital T. So you can see that the two consoles that come up is our e.target.name and our e.target.value. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out a way of storing these. So I'm just going to do a name equals e.target.name and value equals e.target.value. So what we want to do now is we want to be able to store that change in our form state. So that's going to require a set form. So set form is going to make a new object. It's going to replace form with a new object. And we're going to want to spread in our form and replace whatever our name value is using square bracket notation. And this will put in that full name as a string into here. and our value. So now if I save this and I go in here and I start typing, you can see that this is a test is actually showing up here. So let's show you another neat use of use effects in this case. And we're going to use it for a basic console log. So we have, instead of having an empty array, we're going to do form in here. So anytime form changes, it's going to console log form. So let's do, so you can see every time that I made a change, it added a character to it. This is that use effect that's executing only when I hit a key and changes form. So when I hit a key, it runs form change, sets the name and value. It sets the form as a new value, so it re-renders. And because it re-rendered and it said, hey, form changed, it then console logs as well. So has anybody tried to put the console log, say, up in here and see what happens? So let's refresh, and I'm going to type this as a test. Well, it looks like it worked just fine, except it's lagging. So this is what you would call stale state. So you can see that there's a trailing T here. So we logged out what form was on the current render, not on the next render. So when we move this console log into, I swear I'm going to do that a million times. When we move console log into the use effect, what that's going to do is it's going to display form after that render, not form in its stale state. Even if I put it after this set form doesn't modify form until it's rendered again. So it's delayed. So it's one of those things that React does to maybe not confuse people, but there's good reasons for it. It makes a lot of sense once when you've done it a few times. But just know that if you want to console log and get a real feel for what's actually in there, you've got to use a use effect. So let me save this again, make sure I didn't break it. We're going to refresh. So if I click on this, this should check, right? Well, it checked. But if you notice, this accepted is now on. And if I check it again, it's on again. It's on again, on again. That's not what we want. We want it to turn to true. So what we can do is we can see that there is no value on our checkbox. There's a checked area, and we want that checked area to be true or false. So this is where we're going to have to get into some logic. So we're going to want to change the value of this form, but we're going to have to base it off of the checked, if it's checked or not. So the easiest way to do it is, so e.target.type. So this right here is your e.target.type. We want to see if it's equal to, exactly equal to checkbox. And then if it is, we want to return the e dot target dot check, I think. Okay, now I know I've lost some people. I actually see people missing now. How many people I run off? Probably 5. Who's got a question before I save this and show that I don't remember how to do a form?
I don't think I have any specific questions.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Could you just talk through that
Sure.
line there? So if it is the checkbox,
Yeah, so if we're talking about a checkbox, because the checkbox is the only one that doesn't use e.target.value, it uses e.target.checked because reasons.
right? Okay, and then if it's not, we're just using value.
Yeah, so this type equals checkbox is literally this line right here. It's saying, hey, if e.target.type is equal to checkbox, then use checked. And check should come back as a true or false. Because if it's there, it's true. If it's not there, then it's false. So now this is being stored into value. So it's going to replace whatever the name of this of the field is with this value. So I'm pretty sure this is going to work. But this is always the part that I have the hardest time with. So if I check this, we should see accepted turn to true. Okay, so it's true and false. Okay, so we now have a change handler working with this, but we have no submit button. So submit button is really easy. You just go to the end of your form and you do button, type submit, and show me the money. And here's the thing. So let me go ahead and fill this out right quick. So we're going to do we'll do Buzz Lightyear. Check the box. Now watch what happens to this command, or to the command line, to the URL bar when I hit show me the money. This is frustrating. So now we've got everything that was in that form. If it was a password, everything is on that line. We don't want that to happen. So we've got question mark, full name equals Buzz plus Lightyear and % accepted on. So it says basically we've got a key that's named full name, a value named Buzz plus Lightyear, and another key named accepted, and the value of on, which isn't what we want at all. So here's kind of the problem with doing forms is that is called default behavior. No, don't want to save that. I want to hit it there. That's called default behavior. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change that default behavior. We'll do a submit handler, pass in the event. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an e dot prevent default on that. So what that's going to do is that's going to stop it from refreshing the page and sending us to a new website with that question mark stuff in there. And can anybody tell me where I should be running this submit handler from? Do you think I should be doing it from the form or from the button?
The form.
There you go. So we're going to do an on submit. on submit handler. Submit handler.
You forgot to put an L.
Handler. There we go. I was like, wait, that's not right. All right, so now if I save this and I put in Buzz back in here. Light year. And we check that and we do show me the money. I can click this button as many times as I want. It does nothing because we haven't done anything. So what if I'm in here and I just say console log form, right? So we'll save that. So now I should be able to click this show me the money, and you'll notice that it's giving us that form again. So if I hit it again, you'll see it did it again. So it's sending us all of this information. It's console logging out that information. If you can console log it, you can do other things with it. So I don't really want to console log. We already know that form's working, so I can probably get rid of this other one. I'm just going to leave it commented because everybody likes that one. So this is where we're going to get into a little bit of state. So we're going to want to save all of our orders, and we're going to put in a little bit of state here for, I don't know, I guess orders. So const orders, set orders, use state array, right? And I might do a use effect in here to console log out when that thing changes. So we'll do a use effect and do that same pattern that I showed you before, where we do the callback, comma, and we're going to do orders in this here, and we're just going to console log. And we are back in the app file because we're wanting to have some sort of state that can cross between these routes. So I can pass data down to all of these routes from here. So the home page, I could say, you've ordered X number of Teslas, right? So something like you've ordered, and we could do orders.length. You've ordered ever so many Teslas. If I save this, oh, I've broken it. What do we do? Missing initializer and whatever. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to set this here. So let's try that. What on earth? Did I hit shift? There we go. All right, so that's working. So I go home, it says you've ordered 0 Teslas. Yeah, that works for me. So if I click on order form, so like my order, there's no cars in here. Pardon me. So what we're wanting to do is we're going to pass in some state. So the two states that I'm going to pass in is orders and set orders down to our order form. So if I do, orders equals Come on. I do orders equals orders and set orders equals set orders. So basically, we've got props.orders and props.set orders in here. And those are two basic states that we're probably going to need for this. One of these neat little shortcuts that you can do, instead of doing this whole, const orders, set order equal props, and then have props in here. What you can do is you can actually just take this object and put it up in here. That's a nice little shortcut to getting your props. So you've got props.orders and props.setOrders that are now new variables that we can use based off of them being a parameter in here. So we've moved our slice of state down. So in our submit handler, what we probably want to do is we can do our set orders here, because that's our setter for our orders. And we've passed it down here. And since it's an array, we want to make it an array. So if we go back over here, you can see that the state is set to an array. Otherwise, we can't map over it if we want to see what our orders look like, right? So this order is, we want to be able to put in whatever orders there were in there. So we're going to spread our orders, and we probably want the latest order on the top, right? So we're going to do, we're just going to put our form in there. So form, and then spread the order. So if I ordered 2 model-wise, the second one would be the one on the top. Sound good? I've lost everybody, right?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And this should work to get us something. And at the very least, it's going to console log it, because I have a use effect with anytime orders changes, it console logs whatever the order is. It'll also display it once on the first render. So if I refresh the page and I go to, say, Model Y, and we'll do Buzz Lightyear. And I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. Show me the money. Now, if you notice, it's an array with a Model Y Buzz Lightyear, except it is true. And we'll do Woody, since we're going on the Toy Story things. I don't know what Woody's last name is. Show me the money. So now we've got 2 items in there. So we got Woody and Buzz Lightyear bought Teslas, because reasons, right? Toys need toys. So what if I click on home? Well, it says that I've ordered 2 Teslas. So that says that the state is crossing these components, because I put my state high enough that all 3 of the components can show that it's working. So the last step is on my order. We just need like some sort of a map, right? I'm not even going to make a component for it, because this is going to be pretty simple. And so let's do. Oh, that's copyright. Whoops. Like, where am I? So my order. Let's break out of JSX mode into JavaScript mode, and we'll do orders.map. So inside of orders.map, we're going to say order, because that's semantic. It's singular of orders. And we're going to want parentheses here because we're wanting to display out JSX. We'll do an article. I think I'm going to wrap this into a section tag because I can. Might as well try to stay as semantic as possible, right? Everybody gets bored of div, 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 div. So we've got an article. We'll say an H3, and we'll say model, and then break out of this, and we'll do order dot model. We'll do a paragraph tag, and we'll do kind of a string concatenation and kind of make this a little bit more interesting. So we'll do and this will be order dot full name. And what we can do is we can do another ternary in here. We could say order dot accepted. If it's accepted, we're going to output is up to no good. Yeah, we'll do lowercase. Or is being a good citizen. All right. So depending on if they checked that accepted button of I solemnly swear I'm up to no good or not, we're now outputting their name and is up to no good or is being a good citizen. So we're going to save that. Now in this my order, it says Woody is up to no good, Buzz Lightyear is up to no good. If I go and I order a model X and what was it? Rex, I guess, was one of the characters. Rex is never up to no good. So we'll go ahead and click on that. If I go to my order, you can see that we added a model X to the top of the list, and Rex is being a good citizen, which is what Rex does, right? Come on, Toy Story people, you guys remember that. I got a clicking noise, so that's good. I guess that's like an acknowledgement.
What's your laughs now?
So you can kind of see that this works. If I refresh the page, everything gets destroyed. Everybody's gone. So we'll say, you know, Elon Tusk, because his name's probably copyrighted. So we've got Elon Tusk is up to no good. There we go. And he ordered a Model S. So now let's kind of discuss some more tests that we want to do. Everybody's like, oh no, not more tests, because I think that covered everything but yup. But yup is something that I want to test for. So this is gonna get kind of interesting. So we know that we can order a model Y, or at least run these parts of the test. So we've gotten to the model or to the order form, but we still want to be able to check to see if certain things aren't working. So like, I want the submit button to be disabled. So like, I don't want them to be able to hit submit unless they're up to no good and filled out their name, for an example. So that's going to be like a yep thing. So we'll say submit button, we'll do a capital B. And, oh, sorry, we need to define it still. So we're going to do const submit button, and we're going to equal this to I believe this one we're going to have actually have this one as a function to be able to make it right. But I'm gonna try a get first. So and we're gonna make this I don't know, data test ID. And I don't know what sounds good to you guys. Submit button, like that.
Sure.
So here we go. So we got the submit button. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to save it. It's going to break the tests, but that's okay. Yeah, so you can see I can't find submit button. Because we haven't defined it anywhere. So if we go over to order form and find our submit button and paste that in, then save it, bring this over and refresh. So now you can see that we can get the submit button. But that's basic stuff. We've already done stuff like that where you do a get. And you can see how this data test ID makes it so much simpler on how do I select this button, right? It's just a CSS selector. It's an attribute on HTML, but this reduces the amount of paperwork that you have to do. If we want to say, see if this button is disabled. What we can do, since we've already defined the submit button, is, well, I'm going to have to make this a callback very quick. So, because we're going to want to test the submit button as a Cypress get. So when we invoke submit button, it's going to run a selector for this and execute it instead of storing it every single time. So if we don't have this as a function, and when it changes to being not disabled, it won't know the difference because it won't rerun that selector. So this is kind of like a shortcut to having a submit button initial and a submit button clicked or something, right? Or a submit button enabled. It just makes it a lot nicer. So what we're going to do is submit button. We're going to invoke it, which means that it's going to run scget again, and we're going to do should, and we're going to do be disabled. So if I save this and we take a look here, and I refresh. So it's going to say expected button to be disabled, assertion error, timed out, expected button to be disabled because it's not disabled. So let's say that I go back over to order form and I just type the word disabled. And we refresh. Well, now it is disabled. That's literally how it works, is when you're looking at, if I inspect this, you'll notice that it says disabled right here. So that means disabled is true. If there's no disabled there, then it's false. So let's go over here and make something, a slice of state that's going to deal with disabled or not disabled. disabled and set disabled, and we're going to set this to true because that's our initial value. And then let's go into the form, and we're going to do disabled is equal to our new slice of state that we just made called disabled. In this case, we want disabled to be true, which changes nothing, but it's still disabled. So now this is going to get into yep really fast, because what we're going to do is we're going to start validating our yep schema. So believe that we still have to put the yep schema inside of our function itself. So our form schema is going to be a yep object, lowercase o. And we're going to define our shape of the data as an object, because that's what this is here. This is an object. We're going to have certain things in it. We're going to have a model. We're going to have a full name. We're going to have an accepted. And so this model, this is where we can do some interesting validation. So yep.string. And what we can do is a yep.string, invoke string, and do a one of, and pass in an array of, we want a string of y. Well, we'll do s, comma, 3, comma, x, comma, or a y. Right? So what this is going to do is we want the model to be a string, one of these things, an S3, X, or Y. These are the only vehicles that we have available. So if somebody types in Roadster, it's not one of these things. You know, or, you know, Cybertruck. Yeah, somebody's trying to get one early, right? If it's one of those things, then it's going to allow it. If it's not one of those things, then it's going to throw an error for that, and that would show up eventually. We're not going to get into the display an error just yet, because we're just going to try to get this disabled button first. And this is the hardest part of yep, is all of this setup. So full name is also going to be a yep string. This one here, we probably want to have it a minimum of, say, I don't know, 4 things. So minimum takes 2 values, a number value and a string. Your name is too short. Since it's full name, it's very rare for somebody to have less than 4 characters. That's more like an abbreviation of a name than anything else. Oh, I forgot the colon. And the last thing that we want is our accepted. So this is where it gets a little bit weird. Yep, dot Boolean. So on the Boolean, it says that we're expecting a true or false value. And this is where we get to use our one of again. And we want this to be clicked. So that's true. So if it's clicked, it's true. So we can also pass in an error. It says you must be up. Good. That's and then I can also pass an error in over here. So we'll say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but that model is not available. So it's not an S3, X, or Y. They don't have it. If your name is too short, then I don't know, add more characters for fun. Middle name, who knows? If the Boolean is true, then it passes. If it's false, then it you must be up to no good to order from us, should be the error message that eventually shows up. So we're also going to want some other state. So we probably want an error state. And this will be the default error state, which is no errors. And this is going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be an object with model, empty string, because we don't know what the error is yet. There's no errors until there's an error. Full name is going to be an empty string because we don't know who you are yet. And accepted is going to be an empty string because we don't know whether you've wanted to order from us or not based off of you being up to no good. So this is one slice of state that we'll get into here in a little bit, but it gives us a chance to then make something to validate our change and eventually change our errors. So let's get that disabled button working first. And so let's see here. You remember this use effect where we're doing that form? So I don't really want to console log the form, but when the form changes, I would like to see if the form is valid. So what we might do is we might run form schema. And since form schema is a yup object, we can do stuff to it. It's not just a fancy variable that's set to a string, right? So we can run something called isValid and pass in our form into it. So what this is going to do is it's going to say, I want you to make sure that this form schema is passing. If it's not, then I want you to disable the button. So this returns a promise, so we're going to need it then.
Where did you get is valid from?
This is a, so like if I do yep is valid, just search for it.
Oh, it's a yup. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So here's a usage example. So schema is valid, and then whatever. So we're just passing in the form value to see if that schema is the same. And so what it's going to do is going to compare our form, whatever is inside of the state here, with whatever it's expecting here. So if model is an S3, X, or Y, it doesn't care. It's not going to error out. So that's one test to see if it's going to be disabled. So far, it's not going to be disabled. Full name, if my name is Brian, then it passes this. And if I checked the box and the checkbox is true, then it's going to enable that button. So, and for me to be able to do that, the form schema is going to return an enabled value. And so what we might do is set disabled. So if we set disabled to enabled, That's the opposite of what we want, because like say all this stuff is correct. So set disabled is now equal to true. Well, it's already true. So that's not good. So we want this to be the opposite of enabled, which is false. So if you put an exclamation point in front of a true statement, it becomes false. If you put an exclamation point in front of a false statement, it becomes true. So disabled is the opposite of enabling. So you want to have it the opposite logic here. That's probably one of those things that you might have to think about a little bit. I know it sometimes blows my mind occasionally, but that's basically how we get our form to be enabled. So let me see, I've already broken, oh, we haven't imported yet. So star from, yeah. Is it star as yep? I gotta look at my notes.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, as yep. That's right. From yep. All right, so I'm gonna save that. And if we go to our tests, refresh. Well, that button's still disabled, so that test still works. But let's go over here and manually test it from just us. So if I do Buzz Lightyear and he's up to no good, show me the money shows up. Otherwise it doesn't. That's pretty cool. So that's how you get the disabled button. A lot easier than a lot of people think because I did it first. So to recap, I have a state here with disabled and set disabled, and it's either true or false. I have the button where I have disabled is equal to that slice of state called disabled. And then I have a use effect that anytime the form is modified and at the end of the final render of that form change, it's going to run form schema, which is up here. So it's basically saying, yep, object shape this. So like if I copied and pasted that down there and then did dot is valid at the end here, it would be the same thing. So we're passing in form into is valid to see if it's the same between the two. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to be able to validate an individual change. So we want to do that on the stale state that's coming from the data. So this has to happen immediately. This is not something that we can put into this use effect. So we're going to be dealing with our name and value from our form change. So I'm just going to put this right above the form change, and we'll just call this new variable named validate change. And I'm going to pass in the name and value that we get from here. Right. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to do a yep reach, and you can do a search for it. And we're going to pass in two things. We're going to pass in the form schema, and the name that we want in here. So like if it's full name that was modified, we're going to do the full name. So let me see where I was at. There we go. So this will be just name. So there's two paths that this can go down. We're going to want to validate the value. And then when that has been validated as true or false, it's going to either give you good data back or it's going to throw an error. So we're going to need a then, and we're going to need a catch. So if this is valid, it's going to run the code and then, or if it's not valid, it's going to throw a catch. And this is where we're going to get our errors from. So the validation is going to run literally just one of these here. So like if it's the first time through and there's no model, or somebody typed in Roadster, then it's going to throw an error that says, I'm sorry, but that model is not available, into this string right here, into our error. That's the goal that we're going to do. So in this, let me go back. There we go. In this then, we're going to pass in a callback so that it runs it when the then happens. And we're going to want to set our errors. Now, since there's no longer an error on this line, or we don't know if there's an error or not, but since there is no longer an error available on this line, if there was one before, we're going to spread in our errors from here. Error. We're going to spread in our error here. I think I'm going to change that to errors because that's not a singular error. We're going to spread in our error. And then we're going to take our name. And we're just going to equal that to an empty string, just like what you see up here. So like, let's say it was the model and it's a model S. So they went to the right page. It's going to be an empty string because there's no error there. Now the catch starts getting a little weird. So it's going to have a callback with an error. This error is going to be an object. And it gets a little weird trying to figure this out. I still haven't quite mastered it yet, but this error is going to have a key value pair of errors that's set to an array. And whatever's at the 0th element of that array is the last error that was set. So we're going to want to set errors again. We're going to have an array with our errors in it. And we're going to update that one name with our error. But this is an object with errors that has the first element of the array, the 0th element of the array, as the most recent error. So this is how we're replacing our string value from no string here, no string here, no string here. So if they haven't, or they've accepted and they backed off, then it's going to throw that, hey, you need to be up to no good to order from us. And that's where this line comes in, is on this cat, because it wasn't able to validate the schema. Now, as soon as they check it again, it validated the schema and changed the error back to an empty string. Okay, now I know I've blown everybody away. We haven't even started doing the errors yet, just setting it up. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just laughing.
Yeah, I'm still good.
Okay, excellent. Mitch, you good? Or did I lose you?
I'm here. Good.
Okay, excellent.
I do
All right.
really use the bathroom, but
Okay. You guys want to take like 5 minutes, come back at 8:47 my time, so that's Central, so 6:47 Pacific?
yeah, that'd
we-
be awesome.
Okay. I'll
Okay, sure.
go on mute and we'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay, so is everybody back?
Yeah.
Excellent. Everybody's back. Cool. So where we, I guess where we started is we still need to validate our change. So we haven't done any change validation here because you can see that this is grayed out. So it says validate changes declared but never used. So we just put this like right here. Validate change, pass in name and value. Oops, needs a comma. So arguments are name and value, passing into our parameters name and value. That should technically work. So if I save this, didn't explode. Let's go back over here. And so if I type in, hi there, checkbox, and if I backspace over, as soon as it's hit, it's not there anymore. It's there. Okay, so the validation is working the way that we want, but there's no errors. So let's put in these error messages. So if we were to, I guess I could probably put some stuff in this label right quick. So if we were to put a p tag here and say full name and maybe a span with class name of error. We could do errors.fullname, and that should show an error there. Or if we do, sorry, we'll do a span and then accepted. We'll save that. We could also put in something up here where maybe we can have an error. So maybe a p tag. We'll do a and then put in model here. That sounds fine. And put this this other span with class name. Yeah, error. Okay, cool. So let me just save this. So full name, your name is too short. Let me go and refresh. So model Y, let's see what happens when we do a model roadster order form. Yeah, it doesn't really work the way I wanted it to, but that's extra credit. We can deal with that later. So we'll do a model Y order form. I guess what we could do, I know what we can do. I'm going to fix that problem that we were having with I guess we don't have to put it there. We can put it as our default error up top. Let me just copy this. Sorry, I'm jumping around. I saw a problem and I want to fix it. So what I've done is I've copied this. I'm sorry, but that model is not available. And I'm going to put this into our default errors because it was not showing up. So sorry about that. That model is not available. No, that's not what I wanted either. Yeah, so anyway, I'll figure that out. Not working the way I wanted it to, and now I'm sour about it. But we'll get to it. So if I do yeah, so it's not gonna give me the error up here, but it won't let me order a Roadster no matter what I type in here, because there is no Roadster. So it's working, but I just can't get the error message working. And there's no picture of the Roadster, so even better. All right, so it's working, but it's not working the way I want. Let's go back to a Model Y. And yep, no good. I think I've already broken it. Name is too short. They already broke it. Oh well, that's horrible. Let me get rid of this, because why not? And I'm going to refresh the page. No, I don't know why it's there we go. So we're back to where it's working. All right. So if I go back, space, name is too short, so we're good there. Yeah, okay. So I'm sure I could get it to work, and considering that it's bouncing around now every time that I type, there's probably something that I've messed up in here, and it's starting to get late for everybody. So I want to kind of finish this up. Let me just check here. The side form. Okay, so all right. So go back over to console. So we'll do all right, so now we've got that there. So let's get this workflow a little bit nicer, because we want to clear out this form before we forward to my order. So we're going to do another one called use history. So now use history is also very similar to your use params. The difference is basically we're not going to be needing to destructure Vin Diesel from use params. So we're just going to equal this equal to history like that. So history is equal to whatever comes back from history when we invoke it. And it's going to watch for us to make a change. So when we submit here, what we want to do is we want to set our form to our initial form values. So that's going to reset our Buzz Lightyear. So if I blow this up, let's see. Luke. All right. I broke it. Can I access history before initialization?
I think you call
Oh,
it
it's-
history instead of use history.
Ah, there we go. Yeah. I'm like, wait. There we go. Good call. So let me refresh. So now if I type in Buzz and up to no good, and I show me the money, it clears the form. So that's fantastic, right? Let's see here. So the next thing that we're probably going to want is, sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit, is on our history object, we're going to want it to push to our order form route. So we want it to go to this my order route actually. So copy. And after the submit handler, I'm going to do a history.push. And we're going to be going to my order. Let's see if this makes me a liar. All right, so we're going to say Woody is up to no good. There you go. So it went to my order page. So we redirected without refreshing the whole page. So if you clicked on my order, it wouldn't have that in state because you went to a new page, blowing away everything else that you had. Or if you went to it directly, it would be gone. We just deleted everything. It's horrible. That gets into more interesting state and things like that for next unit, of course. But for right now, we're just kind of sort of making it work. I guess we could probably do like some sort of a rec res or something as well, if you'd like, and just use their post user thing, and just use it mostly to get an ID and create it at. But it's probably not super necessary. You guys already did that with the user card, I guess like teammate card thing. I always forget what it's called. Project a couple of days ago. Did anybody get lost on Axios push?
I would like to see a quick Axios post, I guess, if you could.
Yeah, post. Yeah, I was looking at push and set it. So let me import Axios. All right, so we have import Axios from Axios. And so we've got our prevent default. So probably what we want to do is we're going to post to, I think that's HTTPS. recres.in. And we're going to go to their API, users input. And I'm only using this to get some information from it. And we're going to be passing in our form. So if I do a .then, I'm just going to console. I'm just going to pause those for a second. This is going to give me a result. And I'm just going to console log the result. So if I save this and let me refresh to make sure, we'll say up to no good, show me the money. So if we open this up, you'll notice that there is res.data. And it's got all of this information in here already. So accepted, created at, full name, it's got an ID, model Y. So it's injected a lot of really nice stuff into here that we can use to like set a key or set a key with 69 on it, which is fantastic. So let's do, we'll console log res dot data, right? So save it, just make sure this is in the format that we want. So notice how it's an object with all of the information that we're sort of expecting to put into a database. So what we can do is let's move up our set orders first into here. And instead of us putting in a form, we're going to do res.data because we're getting this back. We've already passed in the form into this, and what's come back from res.data is the form plus two other fields, which is created at and ID. So we'll save that. And so let me refresh, and you can see that we've got an empty array. So we'll put in buzz again. Up to no good, and show me the money. Now you can open this up and you'll see that it has all of that information from res.data. So accepted true, created at, full name Buzz Lightyear, ID, they ordered to model Y. So all of this stuff in the then is what you're really wanting to do. So if we move this up here, and then say, put in a catch, I'm just going to do a simple console log. What went wrong with that post request? So now all of that stuff goes into the then, and then the catch will only happen if it fails, like we typed this web address wrong or something, or it can't be reached. But it's not going to delete the form that they just filled out, and it's not going to push to my order. So all of this stuff is things that happen when the post is successful. When it's not successful, then we don't want it to set the order with the form. We don't want to set the form to our initial values, and we certainly don't want to switch over to the my order page. We just want to console log something. Probably, I don't know, some sort of a notification might be nice somewhere. But that's beyond the scope of this project. So save that. Now when we go and we'll say, we'll do Elon Tusk again. So now it deleted the form on the Model S, it's gone, and added Elon Tusk is up to no good, Buzz Lightyear is up to no good, and we do have this, each child in the list should have a unique key property. So let's go ahead and get rid of that right quick. So we'll look at some of this data. So we have created at and ID are things that we can concatenate in our article. So we'll do key, do order, order.id dash, nope, sorry, that needs to be curly bracketed. And order dot order dot created at. So we've got created at here and ID. So we're just concatenating whatever the ID number is with order created at to make something relatively unique. So now if I refresh, we shouldn't be getting any errors over here. So we'll do good. And so Elon Tusk is up to no good, and ordered a Model S. Model Y, we'll do Buzz Lightyear, up to no good. And so you can see Buzz Lightyear got a Model Y. Okay, so back to testing. Everybody's favorite, right? So we're just going to do some fairly simple things because we're, I don't know, I think we're running right at 3 hours on this. So sorry, guys. We're just going to add a couple of things and to make sure this works from end to end. So we'll do a get, and let's do a full name, and we'll do we're going to type into the field Lightning McQueen. Going after the Pixar things tonight. I'm totally going to be shut down on my YouTube channel. And we'll do another get. And this one we're going to do get a test ID. We'll do accepted. We'll do, sorry, click. Okay. So this is going to click that
Yeah,
accepted button.
parentheses for accepted or no?
Yeah, I need to close the parentheses on full name and accepted.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry. So now these two are going to fail because we don't have these data test IDs in there yet. So we're going to put them in here in a second. But I'm kind of abbreviating this because it's getting late. And so we want to check our submit button one more time to see that it's not disabled. Submit button, we need to execute it. And we'll do so not be disabled. So if it isn't disabled, we're going to click on it. Submit button not showed. Geez, click. So we want to make sure the button's not disabled after we've typed in stuff that is correct and we've clicked the accepted button. That should make it so that the button is no longer disabled. We should be able to click on that button, and then we should be able to check the page and see if it has, we'll say, so Lightning McQueen is up to no good. Good. So we're just verifying that it has this. So if I save this, this is going to fail on test ID equals full name because it doesn't exist yet. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to put this into my order form. And we're going to put this on this input here. And then the other one I think was accepted. So I'm just going to paste that, but it's going to be accepted instead of full name. Okay, that passed the test. So if you notice, it goes, starts from the home page. It clicks, it gets a new URL, checks to make sure the button's disabled. It selects the full name. It types in Lightning McQueen. It gets the accepted. It clicks, gets the submit button, it checks to make sure that it's not disabled. And then it clicks it again, or it clicks it. And then it goes to another website and it checks to see if Lightning McQueen is up to no good. So let's add in one more test. So this is where it can order a model Y. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to paste it 4 times. So oops. So we got paste, 2, 3, and so we've got 4 copies of this. So our first one is model Y. I'm just going to change this to an S. S. So I get model S. We'll do Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear. And we want to have this one as Buzz Lightyear. All right, so the next one was a 3. And so we need to put this in here as model 3. And we're going to use something other than Lightning McQueen. We'll do Elon Tusk is getting a model 3. This one's going to be an X.
You forgot to do your Cypress contains.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Elon Tusk. Elon Tusk is up to no good. Change this to an X. And we'll use a Rick and Morty character. So this will be Snowball. Very, very friendly dog. There, now we've got our Rick and Morty connection. All right, so and the last one is model Y, Lightning McQueen. So, okay, so we're good. So let's save that. This sucker is going through. All right, so we've got a couple little things. Did not find model S because it's a capital S. So let's go back over to our S. This needs to be a lowercase s. So we'll save this. And now it's running all the tests. See? So I just tested the entire web page automatically by just copying and pasting. There's ways of doing this without repetitive copying and pasting. Anything that you can change as a parameter, you should be able to loop. But yeah, that's beyond, that's more advanced testing than necessary for this exercise. But that gives you a very comprehensive look at how to write and test in order form, basically. And the rest of it's just adding more stuff or checking to see if there's error messages, if you delete, you know, if you change the type, how many characters you typed in it or whatever. So pretty simple. Anybody else have questions? I can stop recording and go into more detail.